Let's get right into it. September 3rd, 1991. 90 employees are starting their shift at the Imperial Foods Chicken Plant in Hamlet, North Carolina. It's a day just like any other. But in less than an hour, 25 of them would be dead. And not just because of a fire, but because of a deliberate, chilling choice made by management. I mean, it's a question that is just deeply disturbing. When that fire broke out at the Imperial Foods plant, workers ran for their lives, only to slam into emergency exits that were chained shut from the outside. And just like that, which should have been a routine evacuation, became one of the deadliest and frankly most preventable workplace disasters in U.S. history. Today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why it happened, and the life-saving laws that were created because of this tragedy. We're going to walk through this entire case in 4 parts. First, the fire itself. Then, the systemic failures that allowed it to happen. After that, the unprecedented legal fallout. And finally, the lasting legacy this fire has on workplace safety, even today. So, it's the morning after Labor Day. Inside this windowless plant, 90 workers are processing chicken tenders. They have absolutely no idea they are just minutes away from a complete catastrophe. You know, this timeline right here shows you just how fast a single mechanical failure can turn absolutely fatal. The whole thing started with a shoddy improvised repair on a hydraulic line. Now, when that line was brought up to its operating pressure, we're talking somewhere between 800 and 1500 psi, it just blew. It sprayed a fine mist of hydraulic fluid directly onto a nearby gas-fired fryer. And that mist ignited into a massive fireball, which then started feeding on all the chicken grease coating the walls and floors. Within 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, the entire plant was filled with a thick, toxic smoke. It was basically a chemical soup that could knock a person out in just a few breaths. And the location of the fire? Well, it created the perfect trap. It ignited right in the middle of the plant, essentially cutting the building in half. The power lines were severed instantly, plunging the windowless building into total darkness and killing the phones. So as workers are scrambling to escape this choking smoke, the ones in the back of the plant were completely cut off from the main entrance. Their only hope was the other exits. But here's the thing. Those exits were not an option. See, management had a policy of locking doors from the outside, and their reason? To stop employees from stealing chicken parts. A door that was clearly marked fire exit, do not block, was padlocked shut. The plant became a death trap. Workers were literally clawing at the doors, leaving indentations in the metal, but they just couldn't get out. The final toll was just devastating. 25 people died, 54 were injured. Most of the victims died from smoke inhalation. They were found huddled in piles near the doors they couldn't open, or inside a walk-in cooler where they desperately tried to find breathable air. In a single morning, 49 children were left without a parent. In the aftermath, investigators descended on Hamlet, and what they uncovered wasn't just a single mistake or a bad decision. No, it was a complete and total failure of regulatory oversight that allowed this plant to operate in the shadows for over a decade. Okay, for anyone studying for an OSHA exam or managing a facility, this right here is foundational. NFPA 101, the Life Safety Code. It's the baseline for literally all workplace emergency exit requirements. Its entire purpose is to make sure that no matter what happens, people can get out of a building safely. And that's not a suggestion, it is a fundamental principle of safety engineering. The investigation revealed that Imperial Foods had violated pretty much every single principle of that code. In 11 years, the plant had never once been inspected by state safety officials. The owner, Emmett Rowe, hadn't even registered the business with the State Department of Labor. He effectively created a ghost operation. There was no fire alarm, the sprinkler system was useless, and of course, the locked doors. You have to realize this wasn't an accident. It was the inevitable result of a system built on intentional negligence. And this deliberate negligence created a culture of fear. I mean, OSHA law is crystal clear. Exits must be unlocked. But at Imperial Foods, the reality was a padlock. OSHA requires emergency training. But at Imperial Foods, workers were told nothing. One survivor even recounted, "If you complained about it, you got fired." And in an area with very few jobs, workers were forced to choose between their own safety and their paycheck. The sheer scale of what happened here sparked national outrage. I mean, this wasn't just a regulatory failure, it was criminal. And for one of the first times in a case like this, the legal system actually responded accordingly. This quote, right from the official report, it really says it all. Management was so focused on production numbers and meeting food safety standards that they completely ignored human safety. They looked at life safety codes not as a moral or legal duty, but as, and I'm quoting here, a competitive disadvantage. So the state of North Carolina hit Imperial Foods with its largest fine in history, over $800,000 for 83 separate violations. But the company just declared bankruptcy and never paid a single dime. The truly groundbreaking step, though, was the criminal indictment. The owner, Emmett Rowe, was charged with 25 counts of involuntary manslaughter. This marked a really rare instance where a business owner was held criminally responsible for deaths in the workplace. Now, while that conviction was historic for the families and the survivors in Hamlet, justice felt incomplete. Rowe was sentenced to nearly 20 years, but because of a plea agreement that protected his son and another manager, he was paroled after serving just 4. To many, it was a shockingly light sentence for the loss of 25 lives. A lot like the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire 80 years earlier, the tragedy in Hamlet became this powerful catalyst for change. The absolute shock of what happened forced a complete overhaul of workplace safety, especially in North Carolina, leaving a legacy that every single safety professional works with to this day. Yeah, facing a full federal takeover of its entire safety program, North Carolina's legislature acted, and they acted swiftly. They passed 14 new laws, they significantly strengthened whistleblower protections so workers could actually report hazards without fearing they'd be fired, and they nearly doubled the number of state safety inspectors. The state literally went from having one of the most lax programs to one with some real teeth. So why does this matter to you today, as a safety officer or a plant manager? Well, the protocols that are now standard practice are a direct result of the failures at Hamlet. Your requirement to conduct and document exit inspections, to have a written emergency action plan, to run regular fire drills, all of this is part of Hamlet's legacy. The fire also led to recommendations for cross-training so that an inspector from one agency, say the USDA, would be trained to recognize and report a major safety violation to OSHA. And ultimately, this is the most crucial point. Safety is not a matter of compliance just for compliance sake. Emergency exits are not there to satisfy some checklist. They are there to save lives. And leadership has the ultimate responsibility to ensure those doors will open when they are needed most. When that responsibility is abdicated, the cost is measured in human lives. Now we want to hear from you, especially those of you on the front lines. Share your experiences in the comments. What's the worst violation you've ever seen? By talking about these issues, we keep the lessons of Hamlet alive, and we reinforce the vigilance that's needed to prevent another tragedy. If you want to learn real OSHA regulations, disaster investigations, and life-saving workplace safety strategies, subscribe to HSEstudy.